Hello, everybody. My name is Frank Kaiser. I'm the head of mentors at Skygate Incubator. We are based in New York City, but we have startups from all over the world. We work remotely with the best startups worldwide. We have our startups from UK, Poland, Israel. So we are building a global community. And as you know, we recently launched our series of interviews to our mentors. And today I'm very, very happy and glad to have our guest, because we're going to talk a lot about fundraising, operations, finance, so many aspects. So I can't wait to introduce the speaker that we have today. I'm glad to introduce to you Andrea White-Kjoss, who she is a senior executive. She's an entrepreneur, an advisor, a board member, a mentor. She is a leader with 20 and more years of experience. She has done so much in her long career, and she's been working in different industries, from tech startups, software as a service, to transport, travel, VC, you name it. Just to list a few of the industries she's been touching, and she's been working for the last at least 15 years, making companies she's working for grow in a double and three-digit numbers constantly over the last 15 years. So I'm very excited, and I'm very, I'm very interested to understand how you can make these companies grow for such a long period of time. Currently, she is a co-founder and chief operation officer at Extra Vallis, and a startup, which is a startup software as a service company based in California. Last but not least, she also recently got an MBA from the University of Southern California. So, as you can imagine, I have definitely so many questions for you. But first, before we start, I want to welcome Andrea. I'm very happy to have you here.
Thank you. It's so great to be here.
Awesome. So, as said, I prepared so many questions. Hopefully, we can go through those. But the first question I want to ask you is, I was looking at your incredible career over the last 20 years, so many successful companies you've been working for. And one common path that I see over the years is the growth that you establish for these companies. So as you can imagine, now recently you are also working more closer with startups. As you can imagine, also our startups, the biggest challenge they have regards the growth. So the question I want to ask you, if there is any secret sauce that you use to make companies grow, and how can our startups take advantage of your insights?
Yeah, so I think there are two questions there. One is, how do you get momentum? And then the other is, how do you grow? And the momentum side of it is really different, a different arena than the growth side of it. On the momentum side, I think the most important thing is an incredible driving passion that you almost can't not do what you're doing. It's almost physically impossible for you not to do this. And that should propel you to think about it constantly and to evangelize about it in whatever audiences you're in. And you'll think that people are, is when people are sick of hearing about this. They're interested, but then you've told everybody. And the other piece that should compel you to do is to constantly take in feedback and sift through what is good and important, and take that and iterate on the product or service. There's so much more to momentum, but I can go more in depth if you'd like. But in terms of growth, once you've got momentum, then it's time to make sure that you have the right people in place and the right processes in place to scale. And that is something that's often harder for startup founders to accomplish than momentum. Startup founders are often either idea people or technical people, And having a great business partner who knows how to put processes and scale in place is really critical. So, and you don't just want to identify that person when you hit momentum. You obviously want to identify them as soon as possible, and then go back to them when, keep them informed and start to get them excited. Do your founder sales pitch thing, and get them excited about what you're doing over time. And hopefully when you get that momentum, they'll be ready to join you. Or maybe they'll already be part of your team, but yeah, process person help you grow.
Yeah, that would be great, already having, a strong team. But and thanks for sharing that, because at the end of the day, what it matters is it's always the people. It's always the team you are around, and also the people that you're going to meet. So maybe we're going to touch later on a little bit about also your currently activities, because that's what you're actually building. You're building bridges, you're connecting people, investors with startups. And at the end of the day, it seems very, again, relevant to have a strong team, and I definitely agree with that. So let's get a little bit closer to your current activities. So you just launched Extra Vallis, which is very interesting to me, because you're connecting global investors to Silicon Valley area and also startups. So what do you think could be the best benefits that startups could have in having access to that platform? And if you can explain better what's the business behind it.
Yeah, so my co-founders and I are all serial entrepreneurs. We've all gone through the process of raising capital successfully. Some of us are investors or fund managers previously. So the itch that we needed to scratch was that we recognize viscerally, because we've been through it, that raising capital for a startup is a really time-consuming and painful process, and that it undermines the startup's ability to do the two things that they do to be successful, which is spend their time building their product and going to market. And so we also realize, being on the investor side, that it's also a painful process for investors to source startups, to do due diligence. And what that leads to is a lot of failed angel investors at the seed stage, who get burned out on startup investing because they're only able to source a certain number of startups per year, and the can vary. They're usually looking in their own backyard, that sort of thing. And so, if they're investing in 2 to 3 startups per year, that's you're statistically going to fail at any investing, let alone startup investing. So what we're trying to build is a global startup seed stage investing marketplace for accredited investors. And what we're providing startups is a place for them to put their best foot forward to investors. And we don't charge startups anything. We, in fact, provide them with some financial and accounting services so that they can put that best foot forward. Because again, that's not usually what a startup is focused on, is
Right.
is keeping the books and the financial expertise and that sort of thing, building models and KPIs. And then for the investor side, we charge them a subscription fee and a carry upon investment, and that all of that, and just to say very shortly, aligns us with both our subscribers and our users, the startups. And we just think that the solutions that we've come up with are really going to create this modern, efficient, data-driven marketplace where more great startups can succeed and more investors can make money.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I'm a big passion about platforms, everything that is new. I mean, working in this industry as well. So I always want to try and see what's going on. So I'm not an active user, but I definitely took a look at the platform. And one of the first things that came in my mind when I saw it is what you just mentioned. Is very, very data driven. So it's again, I haven't used it yet, but the way I see it, it makes it very easy for startups and for investors at the same time to collect data, because you might have startups from all over the world. They have different metrics, everything is different, and you make it so simple for both of them. So for example, if I am a startup, I can apply very easy, and you build a system of data where investors can make the investment, or at least make a first decision on the go. That's the way I understood it. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct, and that is absolutely the intention, is to simplify it and make it much more efficient and like I said, modern. Yeah.
Awesome. In fact, there is so much demand against different supply in that marketplace where you are acting. So to me, it's very relevant what you're doing. So keeping ourselves, the conversation into the investment side from the startup perspective, what do you think? There are the top 3 tips that you could give to a startup when it's approaching investors or platforms or anyhow, fundraising money. So what they must have?
Yeah, so I guess what I think about first in that is really being real, be natural. Investors are real people too, and they also know that you as a startup founder don't have everything figured out. First of all, you're early, and building a business is hard, and they recognize this. And also, you wouldn't need their money if you we're in a place of perfect growth and market alignment. So just be a natural, real person with them, and at the same time, don't waste their time. Make sure you have your talking points well thought out in advance. And every investor is going to have a different sweet spot, so don't always assume that a startup investor is a startup investor, period. And then I wouldn't walk away without asking their permission to keep them up to date on your activities. You never know who they know, even if they're not a perfect fit for you. Their investors talk to each other a lot, and you may send them an update, and a friend of theirs may be in the industry or vertical that you're in, and they forward that on, and that's how you start to achieve those network effects. So, but you ask them to, if you can have their permission to stay in touch with them. It's going to take a long time to develop these relationships, probably a year. So start that as soon as you can, and then be consistent with your communications with them, and respectful and brief.
Yeah, that's some great insights. I mean, being natural, it's very useful insights. It reminds us that investors are people, as you mentioned, that they might make mistakes. So in the previous interview, I interviewed a VC, and as well, he said that if we don't accept you, don't take it personal, because we might get wrong, and you might be the next unicorn. So there is so many experience out there of investors, maybe making the wrong call. And
absolutely, yep.
Yeah, and also the follow-up part. Thanks for sharing that. I appreciate it, because for example, it could be a startup that was working a few years ago on an online event management system, or everything that could be managed remotely. That at that time maybe it wasn't that appealing. But imagine how fast the market is. This is just an example. There is so many examples that the market changes within maybe 6 months. And then your investor, if you follow up with them, maybe you can have a chance to get invested.
Yeah, but if they haven't heard from you anytime between their first contact and that day, then it's a missed opportunity. So consistently following up. Yeah.
Absolutely. And is that true that, because you also say don't waste their time, which I 100% agree on that. Is that true that you have, one shot with your pitch investment? Like, if you waste their time, you're gone.
In some cases, sure. In some cases, sure, it could be, which is why you want to make sure that you have those talking points. But I have flubbed pitches before. And I have not explained most elegantly what my company does before. And I still follow up with them and make sure that I have, to the degree possible, that second opportunity. I think people are more compassionate than we give them credit for.
Awesome. So let's move forward. One of the questions that like 90% of startups ask me most of the time is about evaluation. So the question is, how do I evaluate my startup? So do you have any feedback considering your experience in early stage startups? How do they come out with a number? What should they do?
Okay, I would love to have some really pithy, data-driven insight on this, and I'm sorry I don't, but it's really, what it comes down to is that there is a sweet spot for each stage of investor, and there is a common range of dollar figures for your revenue, size, and your level of traction and that sort of thing. At the seed stage, I would say that you really, really have to justify any valuation north of $5 million, especially right now. And it ranges around the world too. So I have to keep in mind, and everybody keep in mind that I'm coming from a little bit of a US-centric standpoint, but we have tons of global startups on our platform, and the size range for different types of investors, different locations around the world does vary. But that's the one thing that I can say from a seed stage standpoint, US investors, $5 million is probably the cap, and unless you have some really significant extra traction revenue, that sort of thing.
Awesome. At least they have some metrics, because at the beginning you don't have any metrics, so you have no idea what to ask and what to expect in terms of evaluation. So we are about to end. So that was super fast. I had so many questions. Hopefully in the future we will have the chance to have this conversation again. But usually, I usually ask my guests if there is anything that I haven't asked you that you want to share.
I think this has been a great start, and I'm just really happy that we've had the chance to start a discussion, and I do hope that we can continue it. Yeah, there's more to cover. Yeah,
absolutely. So again, we are at Skygate Incubator. So if you would like to apply to join our incubation program, Andrea is one of our mentors. So you will have access also to applying to our platform, and maybe get fundraised and everything that we can provide within our network. So we are at skygate.io, so you can apply there, and I will be more than happy to work with the new startups coming over. Andrea, if you want to share also your website, so at least our startups can take a look at it, feel free to do that.
Sure. Should I just say it right now? It's ExtraVallis.com. ExtraVallis.com. Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So Andrea, I was very glad to have this interview for you, and I mean, I'm very happy. Thank you again for your time, and I hope to see you again, and have a great one.
Thank you. Have a great weekend. Appreciate you.
Awesome.